Ever since I can remember, I've been drawn to the ocean. Whether it's when I was a teenager in youth group going on a trip down to Nags Head, North Carolina, or when I visit my in-laws in the summer in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Getting into and enjoying the waters has always been something I have to do. In part, there's this exhilaration of getting beyond the initial cold that's numbing and allowing each successive wave to meet me a little higher and finally to release myself, dive through the oncoming crashing. And as I allow myself to go further out, there's the sensation of being held by the buoyancy, supported to bask as I move in the grandeur. Quite honestly, I can stay here for hours. It's truly my place of joy and refreshing and renewal.
Eugene, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to share with us about ocean. You're going to tell us a little bit later what that means, what ocean stands for. But before we get there, would you mind just sharing with us who you are? Who is Eugene?
Pleasure. Well, thanks for having me here today. I am a husband of Erica, a father of two, Tia and Jaron. I teach cooperative education at Sir Robert Borden High School. I've been doing that since 1999. And I love my job. I love my family. I love getting up in the morning and being able to do what I feel God's called me to do and build into people's lives as a teacher.
You mentioned God. What is your faith journey? How did you get where you are today?
It's funny, growing up in Montreal, we weren't a church-going family. And my dad used to listen to the radio, and there was this pastor that would speak, and he would get under my dad's skin. Never going to listen to him again until a few weeks later, and he'd listen. And we're never listening to him again. Well, we went to his church, and it was a crazy experience. But then we went again. And then we went to a church that was closer to our home. I went to the youth group and met God there.
Amazing. And today, you work today as a teacher, is that correct?
I do, yeah. I've been working here in Ottawa since 1999, like I said. And first little bit, I taught English, and I moved about 12, 15 years ago into teaching cooperative education, helping students experientially figure out their future, whether it's a doctor, lawyer, automotive mechanic, electrician, you name it. I'm trying to find placements for students to concretely figure out their future and practically enjoy their schooling.
Wow. And then God gave you this vision, and you called it OCEAN. So what does OCEAN stand for?
OCEAN is an acronym that stands for Ottawa Christian Educators and Administration Network. So for all intents and purposes, if you're a Christian and you're a teacher, or you're a principal, or you're an educational assistant, maybe you work in the office, maybe you're on the care staff, maybe you're retired, maybe you're starting to become a teacher, maybe you work for the union, doesn't matter. The calling is to bring all Christians that are working in education together. Catholic board, public board, private boards, doesn't matter. Ottawa, Upper Canada, that's kind of that was the initial thought.
Wow, amazing. And what would you say is your vision? What is your mission? How do you see doing that?
You know, the big vision is this expectation that God over years has been saying, I want to do something in this city. Lord is doing some amazing things in this city because of one way. Because Mark was obedient to what he needed to step out and do, and look at how it's grown. And for me it was, hey, you know what? Step out. I want to do something in the school systems here in Ottawa through the Christians that work in it. And so I need you to step forward and act on it.
Amazing. Thank you for doing that. Yes. What are the aspects that you would say would help you in accomplishing this mission?
I guess the first thing that really struck me was how many Christians working in education feel alone, feel like they can't say anything, feel like they really are the ones that don't belong. I'm fortunate to be in a school with 6 or 7 other Christians. There's a lot of encouragement. That's not everyone else's reality. And I thought, you know what? What if Christians all across the city that were in education felt that they can come together to be heard, to be known, to connect with others, to be supported by others, to realize that they're with brothers and sisters, to realize that there's a common hope. It isn't just an individual relationship with God, but there's a journey he calls us all on. And we could be doing it together. And we're not alone. The joy and the strength and the fulfillment of realizing you're not alone was crucial. That was the first thing that I thought was essential.
It's very powerful.
Beyond that, I think once you get those people together, I mean, we saw it the first time we ever got together. There was a buzz in the room. There were people talking to each other. They didn't know who they were. And sometimes they did. What's been neat to see is sometimes they see someone else they know and they knew them, but they didn't know them in the Christian circle. So to find out that they were a brother and sister. But I think that the calling isn't just to be a social club and network and, be warm and fuzzy and make everyone feel good. We're really called to be salt and light. And that salt in Matthew, it talks about not losing its saltiness. What does that mean? Well, salt is salt, but it can be overcome by pollutants. And so as Christians in education, how are we living? What does everyone see? Are we just like the others, or is Christ's fruit really in us? And when it is, he says you can't hide it. It doesn't mean you have to be a radical. But when you light it, then people are going to be drawn to it and they're going to see your Father. And so it's a calling of this community to say, how do we walk out what Jesus basically said? Come and follow me. How do we do that together?
Wow. Come and follow me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that third aspect is, it's one thing to say, yes, let's do that. But what if Christians got together and they worshiped together and they exalted the Almighty God together and prayed, believing that he would reveal to them, burden them with his heart. It's not going to look the same for me as it is another person, but he speaks to us. He gives us visions. He gives us promptings. And it may be for the person I'm sitting beside. It may be an incidental, or seems like an incidental conversation I have in the hallway as I'm walking down or seeing a need. But it may be something bigger. Hey, I need you to start doing this. What if all over the city Christians were walking in the Spirit and ready to listen to the promptings and anticipation that he would speak? And that's an important part of posturing ourselves, ready to hear and let him. He's got amazing things he wants to do. Are we stopping to catch a glimpse of what he wants?
It reminds me of just being his hands and feet in the workplace. I can also imagine praying together. It must be so powerful, especially like-minded people, knowing the things that you face every day. Just laying your burden with another and saying, just pray with me. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, and sometimes it's the burden. And I've had situations in my own school where someone says, I really need prayer right now, and we can do that. And other times you pray and then God shows up. So I don't think we often give God the opportunity to show up. And so there's an encouragement of you're praying and then he comes and goes beyond what you would imagine with something. So there's that building up of the faith of, yeah, Lord, you're doing something and I'm walking along with you. And so that's the joy in it. We don't know what the story is that's ahead, but we're a part of it. And then he gives us this, and he gives us a chance to meet with this person. And then there's that. And it's what he wants to do. So it's becoming awakened to that. And so I guess that final thing really is inspiring people to step out. Like, what would it look like if we actually did this? What if we actually, when we're in the staff room and asked someone about their weekend and they said it wasn't good, and there's that prompting inside, well, why don't you ask them what would come from that? Or what would it be like if you started something in the school because there's a need and it's a legitimate need, and you feel God's heart for those needs is to be active and do something, and then you're his hands and feet, as you mentioned before, in meeting a need. Because isn't that what Jesus said, right? When I was naked, did you come and clothe me? When I was hungry, did you come and feed me?
Yeah.
So there's the spiritual needs that people have, and then there's the physical and emotional needs that people have. And then ultimately the thought all along was, God, I think you want to do some sort of transformation revival in the city through the school systems. You want to glorify yourself. So if we come together and we encourage one another and we position ourselves, I'm going to walk and follow you as salt and light, and we're going to pray and seek your face and be responsive, you're going to meet the people that are broken inside. You're going to meet the people that are in bondage. You're going to meet the people that, this world isn't satisfying, and awaken that and bring them across our path so we can say, can we share a hope with you? Can we share a love like no other, a purpose? And you know what? There's going to be backlash, and people are not going to like that. But you know what? There are plenty of people that the Lord is working and drawing to himself, because that's his heart, to be in communion with those he created. And so imagine if you had many Christians all across the city with that same attitude and posture. That's how our Christian story has grown, hasn't it? By people that went, okay, I'm not the brightest or the strongest or the most eloquent. And he's like, great, I can take front seat, and you can be beside me, and sometimes I'll let you take the wheel, and sometimes I'll tell you to stop. And it's a journey. So that's kind of been that's been the hope. And we've watched every time we've gotten together, the hand of God is there. There is a story that's only explained by God orchestrating it. So we're encouraged with, these first few steps, this is what he's wanted. Where it goes from here?
I want to sign up. Where can I sign up?
So, really, and we've had a lot of people that are interested. So an easy way would be for anyone that's working in education and like, wow, I didn't realize something like this exists. 613ocean@gmail.com is our email. We're on the cusp of getting a website up and running. And so on there would be a form to fill out if you wanted to find out. It'll also describe our upcoming events, of which we have quarterly in the year. And as we continue to grow with the website, there'll be things that are posted to encourage people. And anyways, we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about the events. You've had a few. What's it like to attend one? What happens at an event?
Yeah, so they have all looked a little different. Our first time, it was just before the school year began 2 years ago, and we worshiped together, and we connected together, and we sat at tables talking about our experiences and talking about our realities and praying together and imagining what could be. We have an upcoming event December 5th coming up, and this is a really important one. Our hope is that we can bridge a gap between those of us in schools that are Christians, that are teaching and working, and churches in our communities. And how can we work together to build bridges? Because sometimes churches are like, well, how do we do that? And sometimes schools are, we don't want that. But how could we see that happening? And so we want to invite not just Christians in education, we want to invite out pastoral staffs and board members and prayer ministry leads and or just people that pray in the church to come on out and to begin to learn how can we be useful in our school? So that's December 5th. Really would be great to see that room full with a combination of the two so we can begin to learn how to do that well. And then following that in March, really neat event. There's a vice principal in our school board, in the public school board, who during COVID had quite a battle with cancer, with a brain tumor, and really learned what it meant to lean on God. And the thing that's beautiful about Heather's testimony is it isn't, and I prayed this and I did this and it was, happy, I lived happily ever after. Like, she grappled with life when it's kind of on the cusp, but it's a story of courage. And so we're going to have less a speaking event where she shares for 30 minutes. It's going to be a conversation walking. She wrote a book that will kind of walk through. And the hope is, as we as Christian educators or Christians in education are thinking about our colleagues, or maybe other teachers, or for that matter, just other people we know that are going through a hard time and hope is really difficult, that we could say, hey, here's someone's story. This might speak to you, because they're letting us know the difference that faith can make when you're dealing with your world being kind of pulled underneath you. So that's the hope, that people will feel led to, I'm going to invite you, and God will prepare the hearts, even as we're speaking right now, for people that need to be there and hear that. So there's just two examples of events that are coming up.
Just say that email address again.
613ocean@gmail.com.
This has been a really inspiring conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And I'm going to be there. I want to attend your event. Very good.
Johan, thanks for having me here today, and love your heart for the city. And we're just yet another workplace that are listening to what God's calling them to do.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.